Hello world, welcome to Thoughts with an Accent. And here we talk about life in the modern world, how we humans think and behave in today's reality, and why.
Hi guys, welcome back. I hope you all had a lovely weekend. And today we are going to be talking about why we don't understand each other even when we speak the same language. And actually, this topic was inspired by a story that my husband told me. So in the past, he had one of those experiences when he was in a group of people and he was trying to connect with different members of the group, on a humane level, I guess. In his understanding, to do that, to achieve that, he shared one of the stories that showed his vulnerability. Well, we do connect through our vulnerabilities. So he was talking to this lady and he was sharing one of his own experiences where I don't like the use of the word failed, but he struggled and how he came out of it. And because that lady was going through similar experiences, he thought, maybe she would contribute to the conversation and maybe share some of her experiences when she was struggling, and it will create that connection. But what happened, and that quite puzzled him, is that not only did she not connect, she kind of cut him off by just saying, no, that didn't happen to me. And that's it. He felt quite puzzled. Why wouldn't somebody pick up the fact that he was trying to connect? And that example made me think of, I promise I'm not weird, the speech act theory. If you don't know, I have background in linguistics and in language teaching. So all that kind of big layer of knowledge sits at the back of my mind. And yes, I'm a fun wife. Whenever you give me a story, I'm going to give you a linguistic concept for that. So yeah, it made me think of the speech act theory, and I'll tell you in a little bit what it is and how we can all notice and use it in our daily life. It comes from the idea that speech goes further beyond what we're actually saying. The sentences we utter, we pronounce, actually is a way of interacting with reality. And the person who started talking about it, again, he was not the first one to use the term the speech act, but he sort of shaped it into this concept, was John Austin. At around 1955, he created this work that's called How to Do Things with Words. And he talked about three parts of the speech act. So let's have an example. I have a friend who's having a cup of tea in my kitchen. And at some point I say, what time's your train leaving? So the first part, elocutionary act, is the sentence I'm uttering. I'm asking, what time is your train leaving? Now, the illocutionary act, which is the second part of it, what is it that I'm actually saying? The between the lines, right? And that is, I'm kind of hinting that my friend should probably get going. The third part, the perlocutionary act, is the effect that I expect from my utterance. So I expect my friend to leave. So the speech act theory describes these three elements, or highlights these three elements of everything we say. Is what we say directly, literally, what we are actually saying by saying that sentence, and what we expect the others to do in response to what we just said. Later, in 1975, one of John Austin's students, John Searle, he is still alive, he classified, so he sort of finalized, if we may say so, the classification of illocutionary acts. So the hidden meaning of our words, our sentences. And there are 5 types of them. Assertives. So we're just saying something. We want the other person to believe that that is the truth. Then we have directives, speech acts that are to cause the hearer to take a particular action. So requests, commands, can you pass me the salt? That is a directive. Grammatically, can you pass me the salt? It's a question. But what we're actually saying is, can you please pass me the salt? Or we're saying, oh, this dish is not salty enough. Then we have commissives, speech acts that commit a speaker to some future actions, for example, promises and oaths. And number 4 is expressives, speech acts that express on the speaker's attitudes and emotions towards the proposition. For example, congratulations, excuses, and thanks. Then we have declarations, speech acts that change the reality in accord with the proposition of the declaration. For example, baptisms, pronouncing somebody guilty, or pronouncing somebody husband and wife. Now, why can things go wrong? Where exactly in this process of 3 sort of parts, where exactly do things go wrong when we misunderstand each other? We utter a sentence, we mean something by saying that sentence, and then there is the effect that we expect to happen. Now you're probably reflecting on the past interactions that you had, maybe in the past day, thinking where things maybe went wrong. So first of all, let's start with the basics, right? If the interaction is happening between speakers of the same language, then the problem can occur when people put different meaning into the same sentence because of their different upbringing, different life experiences. If they're English-speaking people, maybe they grew up in different English-speaking countries where the same things, same kind of questions provoke a different reaction. So the same sentences, utterances, they actually carry a different elocutionary component to them. But imagine that we bring in people of different cultural background. Now you're probably thinking, oh, that's why I had all those misunderstandings in the past. Because it's not just your personal experience that you're bringing into the interaction. Some cultures can be high context, some are low context cultures. By that, I mean directness and non-directness of certain cultures. Like British culture is very non-direct. So if somebody comes, say, from Eastern Europe, where cultures generally tend to be quite direct, people don't understand that second part of the speech act of the interaction, right? You remember we have the sentence, what we're actually saying, and what we expect people to do in response. So a lot of intercultural communications break at the second part when we actually don't understand what people are trying to say. If, let's say, I made a new British friend, she's saying, oh yeah, let's get a coffee sometime. Again, that might differ. But most often than not, that sometime actually means there is no intention to get together for coffee again. And that would be the elocutionary act, right? What she's actually saying, she's saying, probably not. And then the perlocutionary act would be, I should not be texting her anytime soon, asking, how about that coffee, But people who come from more direct cultures, that can be a clear indication that there will be that coffee soon and that they should actually message and arrange that. Another interesting example is that in my culture, for example, I come from Russia. I'm going to take the liberty to say that in a lot of Eastern European cultures, if somebody says, oh, you can come and stay with us, you can come visit and stay with us, they actually mean it. So if people don't have the capacity for that, they're not going to even say it out loud. So sometimes if somebody from a less direct culture says, just out of politeness, yes, you can come visit or stay with us, be careful because somebody might follow you up on that. Now you can actually look around and start noticing these components of every interaction you have with the world. You can start maybe understanding media better. This approach is clearly visible. This theory is clearly visible in, as I said, media, politics. Take any message, there will always be what they're saying directly, literally, what they're actually saying or not saying, and what they expect you to do after that message. So it's really interesting, it's really curious to analyze whatever comes your way from that point of view. And if maybe person to person, private interactions carry a lot of individual importance, but maybe it's not high scale kind of interaction, think about speech acts that happen on a large scale and what kind of effect, what kind of perlocutionary act, that third component, they might provoke. So if we're talking about people from the same language background, speaking the same language, try to be maybe more picky and more attentive towards what's being said to you. Maybe it will help you understand other people a little bit better. And if you're involved in intercultural communication, so that the same language kind of carries a lot of baggage from a different culture that may not be accurately described in that intermediary language, then it's a great chance to bridge that gap, to actually understand what people are saying when they say that. What do people want you to do? So how can we do that? One way of achieving that better understanding can be developing active listening strategies. You listen and you try to paraphrase what other people are saying, and then they may say, yes, that's right. They can confirm that you understand it correctly. Or they say, no, this is not what I'm actually saying, but I'm saying this. Ask questions, sometimes even direct questions like, what are you actually saying by that? Or what would you want me to do after this? Yes, we may feel a little bit silly when we ask too many questions, but if it improves our understanding, that is worth it. And as a result, you'll be able to read the room in a much more effective way. And in the future, it won't put you into a lot of awkward situations. Also, a good way of understanding other people's backgrounds and other people's illocutionary and perlocutionary acts is trying to learn a foreign language. When my husband, who's British, when we lived in Spain, he found it really difficult to order a coffee because he was trying to phrase the question in a very polite British way, which is not the way the Spanish language works. And in Spanish, they just say, bring me a coffee. But then if a Spanish person speaks English and says, bring me a coffee, that exact phrase is actually saying, I'm rude and I think I'm better than you. You know, that might carry that meaning across. So learning a different language can really help you catch those differences better. Which, by the way, leaves a bit of a question about machine translation these days. When we translate one language into another, can we expect that those little differences are followed? Let me know about your experiences if you spotted that before. So this is all for today, and I'm going to leave you with a couple of maybe things to do in the next week or something. First, try to analyze different pieces of verbal interaction around you. Can you spot all those three elements of the speech act theory in them? How does it make you feel? And the second thing, try to engage with somebody of a different cultural background. Can you spot the differences in your understanding of different components of the speech act? Again, thanks a lot for sticking around. Really appreciate your support. Please share your experiences in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Bye.